Hi everyone. A few of you have asked me to read about Libby and Abby. I haven't read about them just because there are so many tarot card readers that have. It just seems like that case has really been worked and worked and worked. But what the heck? I've got a little bit of time today, and I'm going to go ahead and read about them, and we'll see what we get. So, if you don't know how I read energetically with my hand. I'm reading with the Dark Mansion today, which is um, unfortunately a bit of a sticky deck. It's a little harder to work with, but it's really a cute deck. If you haven't seen it, take a look at it because it's you have to order it from Poland and it takes forever to get to your house. I think it takes like 6 weeks or 2 months or something, but it's really cute, very artistic, and I'll show you some of the cards when we go through here. So what I'm going to ask today is going to ask for a description of Bridge Guy. I know we've gotten a lot of descriptions already, but nobody really has any clear descriptions of him, any clear pictures. I'm going to turn my light on because it's getting dark in here. So I don't know. We're going to ask to tell us about him having a local relative. Okay, we all have our theories on this, right? I read for someone else the other day privately about their theory and didn't give me anything. I'm going to read some of the things that fall within my theory, and we're going to see how that works out. We're going to ask if Bridge Guy's wife was pregnant. You'll see a bunch of readers saying one of the girls was pregnant. I don't believe one of the girls was pregnant. I think maybe Bridge Guy's wife could have been pregnant. So we're going to read about that and see what we get. Yeah, I know a lot of people think he's a homeless bum, but who knows? I'm going to ask if he traveled for work around that time. Again, another theory. Going to ask maybe his age, if he works around Delphi, if he went into the schools, if he's familiar with the area, if he had a relative in that area. I think I already said that one. And what did we need to know and any advice? So what the heck? Let's go. All right, first one, just a description of Bridge Guy. So let me focus on that for a second. All right, because all we have is that very grainy picture. And you know, the picture may be throwing them off. It's just not good. And I think it gives people an impression in their head that may not be what this guy really is. Because you're trying to make it out, you know, your brain is coming to some sort of logical conclusion in and of itself. Okay, we got this card right here. Then the Six of Wands. So that, you know, one of my cards was, is he married? And I believe he is. This is a wedding card. You can see, you look at it, it's actually a depiction of a wedding. So I think Bridge Guy's married. That was my theory, my impression, that he was married, and it is telling us that he is. I don't think he's too terribly old. 30s, 30s. Yeah. All right. I want to ask about Bridge Guy having a local relative because that was another one of my theories that he was familiar with the area and that he had a relative in that area that perhaps he was checking on their house while they were gone, something of that nature. So let me focus on that for a few minutes or just visiting them if they were there. All right, we have some cards right in here. Bridge Guy having a local relative. That's this card right here. All right, Four of Wands again. Boy, aren't we getting all of these marriage, happy people together cards? I do believe this is telling us something very important now that we have two cards that are almost exactly alike. We've got the Six of Wands and the Four of Wands. Could it be that he was dating somebody in the area, that he had a relationship with someone in that area, that he was visiting someone in that area? Um, it very much appears that way. Could have been a relative, but this almost makes me, I mean, with the marriage and the, as a description, it looks like he was in a relationship with somebody in that area. definitely. So I just have to check this because I'm waiting for a message. Okay. Let's talk about his wife being pregnant. We have a whole lot of wives showing up here in these cards. Both cards have a wife in them. So let's see if she was pregnant at the time. There's some weird statistics about men with pregnant wives being more likely to commit kind of crimes. I'll have to look it up. It's an odd thing. Wife, rich guy, wife's pregnant. Yeah, I guess it's this card. I couldn't figure out if it was the other one. That is the Wheel of Fortune. You know, it's funny because what came to me is this circle, and then you see a little face in it. It kind of reminded me of a circle of a belly with a little baby inside, which the Wheel of Fortune is definitely not a card that normally depicts pregnancy, but um, there's two faces in there. Could have been her second child that she was pregnant with. Makes could have been first, who knows? But definitely makes me think she was pregnant. That was what stood out to me, is that like circle of a round belly and then a face inside of it. Weird. You think I'd get the Empress or something like that, but to me today, that's what calls out to me. And you know, the thing with tarot is, I know there's certain readers that say each card means this and that, but there's people that just read intuitively, and we know kind of what the meaning of the card is, but we also are pulled to certain parts of the card. If you've taken classes with like some of the higher up people like Tony Stockwell. That's the way he reads cards. You know, you'll get just a tiny detail here or there that will jump out at you, and it has a meaning for you in that situation that maybe is different from what that card means as a whole. So anyway, I know a lot of people don't understand that. I just have studied under like some real good people that have and I've developed my own kind of intuitive way of reading. Go figure. All right. Bridge guy, did he travel around that time for work? Now, I'm not saying he traveled to Delphi. Could have traveled out of Delphi, been based in Delphi, and traveled. Let's see. Bridge guy traveling for work. Was he traveling for work around that time? We've got cards here. Traveling for work around that time. Tell me about Bridge guy traveling for work. It's this one. Okay, so Knight of Pentacles. It does look like he did travel for work. He's got a pentacle in his hand. The horse stands for travel often, and the pentacle can stand for work. And you see him getting ready to move forward and travel. So yeah, I think he did. It's kind of working with my theory here. Um, yeah, interesting, isn't it? All right, let's see if he actually works around Delphi, though. We've got that he travels for work, but he could have traveled into Delphi for work. But let's see if he works around Delphi, or in Delphi, or right around Delphi. Tell us about Bridge Guy working around Delphi or in Delphi. Okay, we've got some cards over here. In or around Delphi. He's definitely married. Yeah, it's this card. Well, that's Three of Cups. That's a celebration card. It's you know, kind of your happy card. It's a guy with two girls, you know, which is interesting with Libby and Abby. I wonder if he was like sort of taken with one of them, had some weird fascination with young girls, unfortunately. He very well may have. I do think he worked around Delphi. This is a card that, you know, is sort of gives me like neighborly, celebrating, people bringing people together vibe. I think he was very familiar with the area, very familiar with the people in the area, and I think he did work in the area. I think he knew all about it. He's just in this one. He's just like staring at one of the girls, which is kind of creepy. Yeah, it's creepy. Okay. Um, it makes me think, you know, young girls sometimes think of older guys cute or something like that. It could have been something of that nature. Let's see if he went into the schools, because that too was another theory of mine. If he worked around the area, maybe his work brought him into the schools at times. Maybe he did have his eye on one of these girls that he saw and then saw him at the bridge that day. We just don't know. He may not have been familiar with them at all, or he'd seen them in school, and they had no idea who he was. But let's see if he went into the schools. Okay. Looks like these cards. Did bridge guy go into the schools? Tell us about that. Oh, it's this one right here. This is the Five of Swords. It's a weird card for going into the schools. Um, this is a person that has no good intentions, clearly. Going around with swords. Looks like there's, again, two people in the back that he has victimized. Pull up this card, Stark Mansion, and it's the Five of Swords. And you can see both people have swords in their back, and he's attacked them. It's a really creepy card. Did he go into the schools? It looks like he may have been making some weird thoughts of what he might want to do to some of the kids in the school. It's really creepy. It's a seriously creepy card. I don't think he had his head on straight. He just looks like he enjoys violence, and he looks kind of like a vagrant. I can't think of the vagabond. I don't know. I'm thinking of the wrong word. Let's just use vagrant. Um, just somebody who was sneaky and kind of yucky at that time. Yeah, it just looks horrible. I really don't like seeing that card. Of course, we know what happened to them, so um, it didn't give me a very clear. Yes, he went into the schools. I mean, it told me he murdered these two little girls, and I see that in the card. Let me ask for clarification on that. On about him being involved in the schools. Was he going in there, potentially selling products or fixing things, or did he have some involvement in the school? Could he have overheard the girls making plans to go to the Moon and I Bridge that day? So what I'm asking is if he went into the schools. Okay, so I so far have not gotten a card about him going into the schools. I'm going to see what I get over here. I don't know if I'm just picking up on the energy of that card I already pulled or if there's really something under there. Let's look. What's this one? Huh. Again, we've got that very much dark, very similar to this card, just a dark, destroying, um, stabbing, horrible energy of these two cards. I think he victimized people, and possibly the school could have been involved in that, where not the school, meaning the people that work at the school, who knows, but that he may have gone into the schools and may have had these dark thoughts about, doing things to people in the school. It just is really a deep, dark, disturbed energy. Yeah, he really is. You see him wearing this coat too. I'm thinking of that coat that the bridge guy had, that coat was significant in that. It was like his disguise. Yeah. Yeah. keep himself covered up. You know, he had that thing over his head and he had that coat on and he had like stuff in here. It looked like maybe a, I think they were saying it was a hoodie. And then he had a hat on. He definitely was trying to keep himself disguised, which makes me think that he was afraid that people would be able to recognize him. Maybe even he was afraid the girls could recognize him, or that people around there could recognize him. Where did these cards come from? So that makes me think possibly he did go into the schools and he wanted to do this in sort of in his disguise. Yeah, I mean, we all know what happened. So tell me about him being familiar with the area. Okay. This is the Judgment card, and there was a graveyard very close to where they were found. They were found behind a graveyard, and this is a graveyard scene in this card, and the graveyard is coming to my mind. I think he was very familiar with that area, and even more familiar with the area around the graveyard. That really does go with my theory too. So, and especially with these all these married people cards, and did he have relatives in the area? Yeah. This card too, I do believe one of the relatives is passed on now. This card's got a lot of meaning. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Let's just ask what do we need to know, and then I'm going to ask for advice. So what else do we need to know about this bridge guy and finding him? Like what would help find him? What do we need to know about this guy? I'm going to split that up into two questions. What do we need to know about him? He definitely went in disguise that day. That might be why they're having such a hard time finding him. Um, this is the death card, which makes me wonder if he's still alive. I thought he was. Again, it could be going back to that whole cemetery scene, the judgment card, and now we have death. Could be that the person, his relative that lived around there, has now passed on. Could be. I'm going to get this last card, but I have to take this call.